Wonderful. We will go ahead and get started then. My name is Courtney Tyke. I am a student at Utah State University studying marketing. Welcome to the International Executive Challenge hosted by the Stephen R. Covey Leadership Center at Utah State. We want to first recognize our sponsor for the event, Align Org Solutions. The International Executive Challenge is a leadership case competition in which student teams from around the world present solutions and receive feedback from business executives and leaders. We are so grateful for the competition judges who have volunteered their time today. Here with us is first David Covey. In 2018, Inc.com named David as a top 100 speaker on leadership. David is co-founder and CEO of SM Covey, managing partner at Thomas Leland, and co-founder and CEO of Tropologists at Work. David has worked in a number of leadership roles in large corporations. From 1994 until 2010, he was the co-chief operating officer at Franklin Covey. Additionally, here we have Lord Dr. Michael Hastings. Lord Dr. Michael Hastings of Scarisbrick, CBE, is a member of Parliament at the British House of Lords, the Chancellor of Regent's University London, and the former Global Head of Citizenship for KPMG International. Lord Hastings also is the Stephen R. Covey Endowed Professor of Leadership at the Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. Ultimately with us today is Ken Thompson. Ken is a principal at Align Org Solutions, a consulting firm that specializes in organizational change and design. Ken's leadership roles have crossed industries ranging from the Department of Defense, logistics and supply chain, to the fashion and apparel industry. The format for today's competition will be as follows. You will have 10 minutes to present, and I will message everyone in the chat when your team has 1 minute remaining. After that 1 minute, I will cut you off directly at the 10-minute mark. The executive judges will then provide feedback for 10 minutes. We are excited to hear your presentation, and the time is yours.
Hi. Today we present you Sweep South, the critical challenges they face and how they can effectively overcome these challenges. Over the years, what started as a social impact idea soon became a life source for domestic workers who are the sole breadwinners of their family. And now, Pandora faces an even bigger leadership challenge in scaling her business during a global pandemic. As a socially conscious company, Sweep South is looking for a strategy to grow financially and as well as to create more social impact. We will present our idea under 3 essential pillars and how these pillars are affected by the COVID-19. Firstly, we will explore the leadership challenges Pandora is facing and how she can support her organization in the best way possibly. Secondly, we will take you through the strategic scaling challenges, especially with the restraints coming from a global pandemic. And thirdly, we will present you the critical role of community and how it will grow the social impact. We will close with important growth goals to track for sustainable growth for the future.
Indeed, so it's March 2020. COVID strikes globally. We land in a global crisis. I need to respond quick. But first, let me ask you a question. Who here knows the definition of an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur literally means the bearer of risks. Pandora is the leader and entrepreneur, and she will be responsible for successfully leading the company through this crisis. But thanks to the executive board that we implemented, Pandora will feel more secure and supported in these times. Thanks to our connected globe, we saw that COVID initially started in the Northern Hemisphere. With our team from data analytics, we closely followed the developments of the lockdown, the measures, and the severity of the virus. We quickly realized it would soon come to us as well, in our winter. As our winter starts in mid-June, we actually have about 3 months to come up with a new plan. In our new plan, we place a central role of the leader Pandora. First things first, she will reduce her salary to signal the commitment to the long-term future of the firm. Moreover, this element of self-sacrifice signals charismatic leadership, which is especially effective in crisis management. To further develop this idea of charismatic leadership, Pandora will create weekly videos with inspirational messages and informative messages about hygiene measures. At the end of these videos, there's always a Q&A to facilitate mutual communication between the community and Pandora. As we progress towards our season of COVID in June and July, we actually also already see that cases are going down in the Northern Hemisphere. This is useful information that will be used in our further strategic development of the next 3 months. Our executive team is working very hard at this exact moment to come up with that strategy. Now Ilse will explain more of our plan, including the scaling.
Yes, exactly. So we had good scaling strategies planned. Sweep South was even considering going international, but we already highly recommended against this because of the significant international trading tariffs and language barriers in neighboring countries. Now it becomes even more irrational to expand across borders when there is a huge pandemic going on. Instead, we recommended to scale nationally and to expand to other large cities, such as Soweto or Port Elizabeth, one city at a time. But even this for now should be delayed given the unreliability of such changes as this pandemic. Our adjusted recommendations will mainly focus on the services Sweet South has to offer. Originally, the main challenges Sweep South was facing was the unemployment rate, which was at a shocking 27.5%, but also the high levels of inequality, one of the highest worldwide. Of course, these numbers are expected to get even worse as a result of the pandemic. While this is devastating, this means there is an opportunity for Sweep South to help even more women to get dignified, well-paid, flexible working opportunities. To offer such working opportunities, we would suggest that workers would be allowed to expand their range of cleaning services. For example, they could start cleaning at hospitals, at small businesses, or they can choose to stay with repeated customers within customer households, or still stay with flexible households. And this would be, the workers would be in charge of making these choices for themselves. The primary organizational scaling challenge that they were facing was a seasonal demand. A lot of households had living domestic workers, which would leave over the holidays and create a huge spike in the demand for sweep stars. But now there is a spike over the whole year coming up because there will be a higher standard for sanitation. Moreover, previously we recommended expanding our services such as nannying, cooking, gardening, cleaning pools, or even heavy lifting jobs that target both more men and women to join the platform. However, as I said, we want to focus on the cleaning services because these are so necessary to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Instead, we want to make sure that we offer the cleaning materials and do not depend upon customers to get their materials because there's runs on hygienic materials within supermarkets. Additionally, we want to offer the service of doing groceries for our customers, so at-risk groups do not have to go out of the house themselves, or people who struggle to get out of the house can still get their groceries at home. To still get more customers and workers on the platform, we still advise that a referral system will be implemented and that it is encouraged that word-of-mouth promotion is used by customers and workers. Of course, the scaling strategy highly impacts the community and all the customers.
Now, shifting our focus to ensuring safety in the actual community. During these challenging times, we recommend adapting the previously introduced position of community supporter. Instead of merely providing professional support, these community supporters would also provide emotional support for the sweep stars in their community. One instance of this could be supporting sweep stars within the community who test positive for COVID-19 by either cooking them food or offering to watch their children. We continue sticking to the general guideline of one community supporter for 150 sweep stars. In this role, the worker would continue working as a sweep star and would also receive additional leadership and crisis management training. Overall, the role of community supporters is to create a supportive working environment for sweep stars by really transferring Pandor's inspirational leadership philosophy during these challenging times through the different layers of the organization. To provide support within the community, we recommend that SweepStar adds a community-focused section called Ubuntu to their existing platform. The word Ubuntu actually derives from a Zulu phrase, which can be roughly translated to, "A person is a person through other people." And this represents the African philosophy that community is one of the core building blocks of society, especially during these challenging times such as the pandemic. The Ubuntu section would include a community forum where the sweepstars can communicate regarding professional and personal issues and creates a sense of solidarity. Furthermore, the management team can send out a bi-weekly survey regarding the mental health of the sweepstars. Combined, this forum and survey will give the management insight into the circumstances of their workers so they can really establish support mechanisms that are relevant for them. This section would also offer a live chat feature to overcome the negative impacts that social isolation brings with it. Besides the Ubuntu section, We also see opportunities for adding value to the community through the existing Sweep South platform. We recommend adding a Support the Stars tipping feature, which allows clients to tip by contributing to Sweep South's medical expenses fund. This collective fund will then be used to support any Sweep Stars who require financial assistance during this challenging time, especially in the field related to medical expenses. Overall, we recommend that Sweep South adapt the role of community supporter, add the additional features to the Ubuntu section, and add the Support the Stars tipping feature to ensure that during these challenging times, as Sweep South scales up, so does their social impact.
When implementing these and scaling the business when facing a global pandemic, there are a number of key metrics to track. Number and location of new installs of the app, which will indicate what areas to focus on, as we expect the demand and the scarcity to shift these previous focus targets. Well-being of employees now becomes a very important metric to track because we can also track their sickness and how they're feeling psychologically. Customer satisfaction, because the success of their expansion will largely depend on how happy they can keep their early customers. We realize the critical challenges Sweep South faces. We've presented a three-pillar strategy to solve this, refocusing Pandor's leadership role and enabling her to take the wheel of driving the social mission of the organization, diversifying existing skill set of employees to pivot based on changing needs of a global pandemic, finally investing in the community, making them part of the solution. This way, we can grow Sweep South to reach the next milestone, both in Pandor's leadership, the organization's social impact in a difficult time, creating a win-win.
Wonderful. The judges will now have 10 minutes of time to give feedback.
I'll go ahead and go first. First of all, thank you for spending your time today to present to us. I thought it was wonderful. There's a lot of good things that I could certainly talk about. One of the things that I really liked about this presentation is your ideas and your concepts were very actionable. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the more strategic side of things, but it really doesn't translate into a meaningful, actionable item. And I thought your recommendations were very actionable. I could see them coming to fruition as you were talking about them. So great job there. The flow, the ideas, the thoughtfulness, even the parts of it clearly shows that you understand the dynamics of the environment. Just for a couple of things that I think could be a little bit more developmental. As a flow technique, sometimes it's good to refer to another colleague to help with that flow. And, just say, as my colleague Keisha just said, I want to reiterate this point or something like that. That way it doesn't look like it's four separate presentations. And then the other piece from a business perspective, I love the very end, how you reiterated, here are our three priorities of effort. But I would also argue many times it's actually good to even recommend which of all of these things that you recommended is your top priority. Which one should we execute first and put the most resources against versus which one is important, but maybe not as important as number one or number two. But yeah, great job. Very impressed. Thank you.
Lord Hastings, do you want me to go next or? Okay. Anyway, I thought that what you guys did was very clear, concise. I liked a lot of your recommendations and suggestions. I loved your coordinated classroom background that you all have. I thought that was a nice feature, as well as your dress. You're all in a dark, it looks like black, and black and white. And so I thought that you were all nicely color coordinated. I liked at the end how you brought out the key metrics that need to be measured. I think that's one of the challenges of all of this is how are you going to measure the success of it? So I think you've obviously have thought about that and focused on that. In terms of possible improvement, I would just like to hear more of your names. I think I heard one of your names throughout your presentation. I think, it would have been a little bit better if you could have said, mention each other's names as you pass that on. But again, that was a minor point. I thought overall you guys did a really good job, and congratulations.
Yes, huge congratulations. This is a complex subject, because although it'd be tempting to say this is about ordinary people's work, there's a lot of depth in the case study, and there's a lot of depth in the issue, as you highlighted a country with huge unemployment and enormous economic disparity. So turning Sweep South into a positive community building, and that's the bit I really did like, that the community, the live chat dimension hit me straight away, because obviously when a lot of people are separated, or at least home constrained because of lockdowns and coronavirus and etc., having a means whereby through an enterprise there is an enhanced community conversation, that's very rich. That's very rich. And of course it relates to very basic services, very necessary services. But I've been to South Africa, more than at least 12, 14 times. I've seen it vividly, and what it's like. This is a Cape Town example, which is one of the wealthier parts of South Africa, but you still see the reality of the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. people walking the side of the road looking to get work and to try to get basic home support stuff done. The need for improved relationships and community building is very necessary, and you highlighted that in your presentation. And just as David said, it is good to see you all looking like you're all together in one room. I realize you're actually you may well be in one room, we don't know. You could be right next to each other, but just on 4 different screens. But that sense of how you look coordinated is very effective and very helpful. But solid solutions. The definition of entrepreneur, the bearer of risk, that's a good one. I've never heard it put like that. So thank you, Niek. That's a very, very interesting one. I'm going to copy that. And yeah. Do you know what the word? Do you know what the word mortgage means? The definition of mortgage.
Do I want to know?
Yeah. Well, this is what it means. It's mort geo in Latin. It means the grip of death. So that tells you quite a lot.
You certainly feel that way when you sign over, those papers. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, judges, for your feedback. The judges will now enter their scores. Remember to enter the virtual room at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time to see the winners of the final round. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Much for the feedback. Have a great day.